I have been going to a couple of races in Belgium this year, and they always ask you to use the Tramp or the TBS video senders. It turns out that these things cost around 30 euros. And I find that this is quite expensive, and I found this one on Banggood, and for around 12 euros you get the same type of features, and it also has all the professional features like smart audio, and you can put it at 25 milliwatts. But then people say no, these Chinese things, you cannot trust them. So today I'm gonna find out if this guy is outputting really 25 milliwatts compared to this one. What I find nice about this thing is that you got two mount holes, makes it easy to mount them in your quad. It actually comes with an antenna. This antenna you can actually use, and otherwise you can use any antenna you want with this replaceable cable. With the Tramp, obviously you have the benefit of setting your video channels with an NFC based smartphone, which I will show in a minute. You get a couple of extra cables. I bought this RF meter to be able to actually measure if my drone, when it crashes and it gets a lot of bangs and hits, if the antenna is still outputting a nice signal, because I had been some problems in the past and I never knew what was going on. So I invested finally in this very nice ImmersionRC radio frequency power meter. So we'll also show in the test how that thing goes. Just to show you what I use as settings, I use a frequency rating that is very close to the Raceband 1. Raceband 1 is 6585 and we're at 6550, so that's very close. The mode you should use is the average mode, and then I use a very long sample cycle of 160 milliseconds. For the comparison, I've connected both receivers to the same 3S battery, so that will give around 12 volt. Also here I use a 3S battery, so the same voltage will go in these both devices. I will configure them on Raceband 1, 25 milliwatts, and I'm using the same antennas, brand new antennas that I haven't used from Banggood. Also these are quite cheap and they've sent a good signal, but obviously they will break, but every antenna breaks, so I'd rather break a cheap one than an expensive one of 20 euros. In the meantime, I found some cheap replacements also on Banggood of antenna that are not so expensive anymore, and we'll also put them on the watt meter to see how much they're outputting. So here is my meter. It's not detecting any signal right now. I've installed my antenna. So let's now power it up. I've put it at Raceband 1 and I've put it at 25 milliwatts. So it's powering up. Here we are getting a signal. And what I will do, I'll hold it like this and I'll put it just connecting the pin like this. And now we'll baseline it. We'll put it at 0. Boom, 0 defined. Around here is 0. Alright, so this is what 25 milliwatts is supposed to look like. Now let's check our Chinese friend over there. Let's turn the power off. Let's take the same antenna. And we'll just see what the included equipment sends straight out of the antenna. So here we go, 12 volts. And we're reading our first signal. Let's take it like the other one. Put it the same. And here we see that there is a very small 1 dB difference, but that I think that is acceptable. Let's now move to 200 milliwatts. So by pressing this select button here, I've put the light here on green, which means it's now at 200 milliwatts, the power rating. Let's see now what happens with our signal if we put it in the same fashion. And there indeed we see it goes up to 8, 7, 8. If you hold it in the same position, 8, 9 almost. And a couple of centimeters away we come to -4, -5. So what if we put the Tramp to 200 milliwatts? I've programmed the Tramp at Raceband channel 1, 200 milliwatts. Let's power it up. See what will happen. There we get our signal. Let's do the same procedure. We hold it just close to the tip. And here we also see a little bit more. It's using the same antennas in the previous test. We get around 10 dB The other one was almost 9, so I guess 1 dB is an acceptable range. So here we see that both these transmitters, they're quite similar. If you put these at 25 milliwatt, both of them, we see they're very close to each other. And if you put them at 200 milliwatts, we also see that they're very close to each other. So in my opinion, this costs 30 euros. This costs around 12 euros. Given the fact that you can more easily mount this one, that you can detach your antenna if you want to, and replace it with an antenna like this, which avoids all the connections and all the angles which will deteriorate your signal. For me, this is the winner compared to, this is actually the Tramp version 1. Obviously, if you want the NFC type of setting your video frequency and your power, this feature is not included in this one. But if you're on a budget like me, or if you like to be on a budget like me, this one for me personally is the winner. Hope this was useful for you. Thank you very much until the next time. And while I have this test equipment out, let's change a couple of antennas. I bought this one in Banggood for around 4 euros. These were 5 to 6 euros. And this one, this small dipole antenna, was included in the box. So what I usually do, and I'm just practicing and I'm not at a race, I use this dipole antenna. It's very hard to break compared to this one. It's included in the transmitter from Eachine, so that's very nice of them. And usually the range is acceptable. When I go to a race, I replace that antenna with one like these that has better range, but more easily breaks. But at least when I'm practicing, I'm not breaking these antennas all the time, and with this one you can practice as much as you want and crash as much as you want. The reason that I ordered these ones, because the price was coming quite down compared to some of these things that cost 10 or 20 euros even. These things cost around 3 to 4 euros. They're very good antenna, they're very cheap, but they are easier to break than these ones, I think, because they're smaller and more compact. You can hide them better. But let's see what their signal rating tells us. Let's see what they're outputting at the source, which obviously doesn't say anything about the range that they can handle. So my line is still baseline at 25 milliwatts. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. And if I hold it here to the tip, let's see if I can get it back to, alright, seems to output a little bit less than what I could find with the pagoda style antennas, which are proven to work very well. So here I get a little bit more starting off just from the tip of the antenna, -2 micro dB. No. To be sure, let's depower it, because these things, they don't like to be powered without an antenna connected. Let's see what this guy does. On the tip, I'm not sure what this proves, but I get -6 dB, 7 dB, -6 dB. Just connecting this, a -3 over this side. -13 here, -4, -3 here. That seems to be the best side, somewhere over here. And on the top, -5, and then the signal deteriorates quite quickly. Let's then take the small dipole. See what this does. Alright, not too bad, spot on. 25 milliwatts as. So here we get that rating.